All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
What up, everybody? It is a big Wednesday show. Isn't it? The days run together, you know. They put them right next to each other like that, and sometimes they just run together.
How rude.
It is Wednesday, December 7th. Of course, they say the date that would live in infamy, of course, as a result of the Pearl Harbor attack. Today is a day with a lot of news. Big Georgia election, as you're well aware, and results that are good for the Democrats and also are meh for actually getting things done, given the situation with the House. But that said, it was huge, and it also flew in the face of a lot of stuff they're doing in Georgia. Big Supreme Court case going down. We'll touch on that. Big Trump verdict, and it was for his organization. I'll give you some of the realities on that. There is some sex in the show today. Yeah, I know.
Oh,
that's right.
Good morning.
Yes, I thought I'd get you some of your attention that way. And Jeremy B. White, we'll talk California, not only politics, but what may be inevitable, which is the return of some mask mandates with COVID and flu cases spiking. So, a lot going on. Good morning in the chat.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody. Really?
Morning.
Yeah. Mike Garcia joins from Oklahoma. That's always very exciting. What up, Oklahoma? Yeah.
They have great gas prices.
They do have better gas prices, but pretty much everywhere in America has better gas prices.
Yeah, but Oklahoma was like 93 cents when I was there.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Happy Wednesday, says Jim. And somebody was in the chat on YouTube, which is the great thing, I must say, about the YouTube platform. And we have our own issues with it right now because you can't leave a super chat and you can't leave a super stickers. So YouTube has demonetized these shows. Actually, because they demonetized the shows, John, I could play music, right? Or that would be like...
yeah.
Almost, right?
Yeah. I don't...
Anyway, so they've demonetized our shows because of an inconsistency in accounts. It's a confusion on their part that they have either added to or we've added to. We're trying to work it out. So
it was like a catch-22 situation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, if you do this, then we can fully monetize you. But if you do this, you'll lose all this other money that you've already accumulated because people have been donating, right? So we'll keep you posted. As you know, I always try to be forthcoming about what's happening. And anyway, so YouTube is demonetizing once again today. So if you're wanting to support the show, and I really appreciate it, especially at the holidays and the year-end kind of our dash for support, you have to go simply to The Mark Thompson Show. You see it on the screen now. Visit themarkthompsonshow.com, click Contribute. And you've got Patreon and for a monthly donation, but you can also go to PayPal. So PayPal, boom, it's done. Credit card, whatever, it goes right to us. themarkthompsonshow.com. Now, as I mentioned, I have all these things going on that I want to touch on, but I also want to kick off one huge thing, and I'll do that in a moment. I first, though, want to acknowledge, speaking of contributions and ongoing support, the guy who stepped up early on. I mean, I think in the first few hours after the KGO disaster, after the whole thing imploded, he stepped up and he said, I want to support your show. That guy is Steve Moskowitz. And more than just being a guy who stepped up, he is truly an elite representative when it comes to helping you with your taxes. He's found for so many clients ways in which they either don't have tax exposure they thought they had, or have refunds that they don't think that they're entitled to when they first come to Steve, and my God, they are, and money left on the table in so many instances. So if you're a small business person, or if you're a sole proprietor, or if you're just an individual filing, Steve is your guy. And it's 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com, 888-TAX-DEAL. So what we're going to do is something that you decided on. And I'm looking for the major announcement because I think this is a major announcement, isn't it, John? I would
Does it
consider
rise
this.
to that level?
I think
Or is it a big announcement?
That's a good question. It's well, it'll only be a big announcement if I can't find the major announcement. This is the problem. You know, they do this
Shadow
to me all the
doesn't get
time.
involved unless it's a major announcement.
That is true. Shadow.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it
associate
for.
himself with anything less than.
Shadow is going to come onto the show live. I just exchanged messages with him.
That is a major announcement.
That in itself is a major announcement. But he's going to come live the day after Christmas, which is my birthday. And as a birthday present, he said, I'll come onto your show live. So that's pretty cool. Maybe he could, I don't know what to ask him. He's a real show business guy, you know.
So it's kind of like a Make-A-Wish Foundation thing that he's doing?
It's very Make-A-Wishy. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that I can't find this.
Are you the oldest kid in your family?
I think that's a little personal.
Oh, please. I was just.
He is the oldest child.
This is a major announcement. For the next 30 minutes, we are going to, at viewer and listener request, auction off the Mark Thompson Show banner, everybody. Now, as you know, this is a banner which cost the show a little less than $100. Probably, you know, around 100, maybe it's a little over 100, maybe it's a little under 100. But its place in the show is historic because it has occupied this spot for, you know, during the primordial ooze right now of the show, right?
It's quite controversial, actually.
Yes, because as you're aware, there was considerable opinion that it should just be moved over there a little bit. Jefferson Graham, did you see he just came in? That's a lot to pay for a banner. Well, now it could be yours. Now, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you I'm not sure that it's of great value to you unless you were putting together some sort of shrine to the show, which I might say would be a good idea. You know, that would be, we've seen collections of merch. This would be extraordinary.
Maybe off the side of I-5, you could set up like a little museum.
Yeah. Well, what we did say we do is in silver Sharpie, we'll inscribe it. I'll inscribe it with whatever you want the inscription to be, as long as it's not dirty, as long as it's not real. You know what I mean? But you name it, and we'll inscribe it that way. So, John, this is what's that, Kim?
I'd like to open the bidding.
Oh, all right.
I'd like to bid $50 for the Mark Thompson Show tarp.
All right. Well, it's underway, everybody. You will, and by
See how she's trying to keep the value down by calling it a tarp?
Yeah, I thought that was a little
the bidding process.
And by listener request, JR says he means I wanted to get rid of it. No, I didn't want to get rid of it. Actually, I just wanted to move it over. Yeah. But it did win in the poll. So what you need to do is put your bid into the chat. And Kim is a shill, says Tom.
That's rude.
Well, she's the wrong kind of shill. She's starting at $50 or whatever. So it's possible. If we can't get what we paid for it, we're hanging on to it and moving it over, John. I'm not taking a loss on the banner. You know what I mean? I thought it would go for...
Well, you could talk to Steve Moskowitz about that.
No, that's right. Maybe I could write the loss off. Vilma says, if you love the show, hit the thumbs up button. A lot of people haven't hit the thumbs up button yet. It's outrageous.
They do this to you all the time.
They do. How can
they do this to me all the time.
Trying to
I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Yeah, they're trying. Smash that like button.
Smash it with your iron rod.
And if you want to bid on the banner, you know how to do it. Put it into the Immortal Tiger bids $75.
Oh, I've been outbid.
You've been outbid already, but you bid something that is going to be outbid. I mean, let's be honest. That was lame. It was a good opener, but it was a.
I thought it was a good starting bid. And
yeah,
you
it's a
never
good
know
starting
how
bid.
much
No, I agree.
interest there's going to be. I was prepared to cough up $50.
Yeah, I got it. All right, so jump into the chat. We'll take actually the top bidder and then the second top bidder. John will get your information, and if for some reason the top bidder can't come through, the second top bidder, you'll get it. So that's the way we're going to do it. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The midterms deliver one less last Trump loss, I should say. And this Georgia Senate runoff did go for Herschel Walker's opponent. Yeah. Warnock wins a brutal election cycle. I mean, the mention of Trump, you may say, is odd here, but you have to consider the fact that Warnock is up against Walker, who is someone who was handpicked by Trump. In fact, the Republican leadership did not want Walker as their candidate. And it is also likely that had Republican leadership actually been able to prevail in the decision as to who actually put up against Warnock, that they might have won that seat. Walker was a terribly troubled candidate in all the ways that have been detailed on this show and elsewhere. In fact, Jimmy Kimmel did a run, I think it was just last night, and it reminds you of all the stuff about Walker. Just give it a listen. It's a quick listen, and you can see how troubled a candidate he was.
Even though he's a beloved local football hero, Herschel Walker has not exactly inspired passion amongst Republican voters. I mean, if you go down the list of what their party supposedly values most, family values, he's a serial domestic abuser with more kids than Dave and Buster's on a Saturday at noon. His charity, he claimed his company gave 15% of their profits to charity. 3 of the 4 charities listed on his website said he gave nothing. The other said no comment. Pro-life, he was Planned Parenthood's customer of the year, I think. Pro-law enforcement, he lied about being a cop, an FBI agent. He exaggerated his non-existent military service. Pro-business, he claimed his chicken factory employed 800 people. It employed 8 people. Pro-Georgia, he himself mistakenly admitted he lives in Texas, not Georgia. But he did play football. That is true. And now the voters will decide if he stays or if he goes. And I have to say, as a person who does a show every night, the idea that Herschel Walker won't be on camera every day is sad.
Right, exactly. It was comedian's dream. And as you know, Walker served up lies like a short order chef. He also served up all these bizarre statements. I mean, you know, the whole vampire and what was it again? It was like
a werewolf can kill a vampire. Did you know that?
Yeah, werewolf can kill a vampire.
They're looking at just social media.
Right. So he goes off, a guy who really just can't find his butt with both hands, didn't belong on the stump running against Warnock, and he's on his way. I mean, it's true. The guy's just a moron. You know, he can't even spell. I'm sure he can't even spell politician.
Is it humiliating to the state of Georgia that it was such a close race? I mean, how does that even happen?
Yeah, I mean, that's I think
he was just a proxy. He was a proxy
right.
for. He was
I
a vote.
know,
that's
but
exactly
I'm
right.
watching the numbers roll in last night. I was, all night long, I'm thinking, oh God, this is way too close, and it's flipping back and forth as the votes roll in. It is entirely too close. I mean, Warnock should have been ahead the whole time. That there was ever even any question was shocking.
But
to
they
me.
were marketing it to the Republicans. Hey, if you vote for him, you're voting for, for the president, right? You're voting for Joe Biden.
Right.
You're voting for Nancy Pelosi.
They successfully linked Warnock to the Democrats. But I think more to the point that I think is being made here is Walker was less about Walker and more about we need to take back government. And that's being done in other ways as well at the Supreme Court. We'll get to that a little bit later. There's a hugely consequential Supreme Court case that's being heard right now that deals with redistricting and gerrymandering, but it's born of that. But it's really a chance for state legislatures to take over the election process and send their own electors to Washington to vote for president and essentially take the election away from the people, the people's voice. But put that to the side for a moment. Let's just talk about what happens now. So again, just to spend a moment, this is a hugely consequential result. You need the 51 in a deadlocked Senate. You were having to make peace with Joe Manchin, for example. For any number of reasons, the 50-50 deadlock didn't help you. It didn't help you from a funding standpoint. You know, all these committees that are occupied by all of these senators, they are funded, okay? And the funding has to be split between two parties if they're equal. If one party has the edge, they can decide on getting the majority of the funding. That is important because in the legislative process, even just in the process of the business of the Senate, you can slow things down. And that's what the GOP does, or the out-of-power party, if you want to think of it that way, can oftentimes do. Slow things down. If they are underfunded, they just don't have as big a place at the table. And so in many of these instances involving Senate business, if you want to think of it that way, the dominant party, even if they're dominant by just one, they're able to move things along more quickly. So judicial appointments, they can really move them along now at a pace that they really couldn't before. They don't have to make peace with a Joe Manchin. The problem is, and the downside and the meh part of this, is that without the House, you just can't really pass any legislation. We all know that. The deadlock of Washington is something that we're all familiar with, and you're just going to see more of it now. So from a functional standpoint, legislation will be deadlocked in Congress. That's just a fact. Now, the markets like that, I think the markets actually tend to flourish with deadlock in Washington. But if you're a progressive, or even if you're a mainstream Democrat looking for things like minimum wage or any number of things related to a greener economy or making bold statements about the environment and trying to change the course of America in terms of alternative energies, that's going to be a lot harder to do. And that's just a fact. So it's not as though, again, I think this is a hugely consequential and massively important win for the Democrats. But I just didn't want to get too far out over our skis, as we say, you know what I mean, in celebration, you know. The thing that's going on in the Supreme Court is just what I'm saying in brief, and it's associated with the power of state legislatures to essentially decide on their own how the election should be decided. So in state, it seems bizarre, but it really is that. And we'll talk to both Michael Shore and Jim Avila on Friday. We'll usually get into politics then. And this is a case that's just beginning to be heard by the court, so we can get into it in greater detail as the months continue. But this would really throw elections in America on their side. And you'd find legislatures that are dominated by one party or the other, but it's the GOP that really wants this. You'd find them in a power grab. In fact, this thing comes out of a power grab. It comes out of a gerrymander case that's associated with such extreme gerrymandering that a court had to decide that it was too extreme a gerrymander toward the GOP. And the GOP appealed it, and now it's appealed to the Supreme Court. And the conservatives on the court, the super conservatives, I would call them activist, radical conservatives, right? Clarence Thomas and Alito and the like. Kavanaugh would be in that group. They will likely rule that state legislatures should have that power. So that's one to watch, because that will change elections in America, and not for the better. So where are we on the Where are we on the auction, John?
We've kind of leveled off here with Joe Box's generous offer of $181.10.
Wow, Joe Box.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Oh, that's that's because he's got Little Anthony to help him with the cost, right? I mean,
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
I forgot about that.
Little Anthony can handle the shipping and handling.
Yeah.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
Oh yeah, maybe get Fat Andy involved. 181 is the 181 is the lead. Is the lead bid? I
yeah.
guess is the word. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
All right. Did I have something? Let me just quickly get back. I promised. I've got a chunk of Trump coming up. I guess I can do that next hour, John, if I get too far behind. Jeremy B. White of California politics. And I did also want to mention what's happening in China and Germany. So, I got a lot of stuff to do here. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
let me just quickly mention the arrests that were made in Germany. Dozens suspected of plotting a far-right extremist coup. I mention it because, misery loves company. Didn't we have one of those here? Yeah, so there you go. The German prosecutor's office said the suspects belong to a terrorist group that aims to overthrow the government in Berlin. Meantime, as you know, the Chinese are loosening restrictions associated with COVID. One of the reasons they're loosening it, the overall restrictive nature of their policy, is because COVID is spreading despite the restrictions, and they have crazy restrictions there. We've detailed them here before. The QR code that you have to show to get into various places, constant testing. They've rolled so much of that back because of protests from the Chinese. It's kind of what's happening in Iran. The power of protest. I mean, there's great sacrifice in that activism and that protest, particularly in these authoritarian regimes. But there is such great power that the people retain. And the Chinese have actually rolled back a lot of these restrictions. The other sad fact, because we're living with it as well, is Omicron is so incredibly transmissible that their programs of your zero COVID policy, they're just not working. So they're facing down that as well. But it's good news for a loosening of the situation in China and probably for the Chinese economy as well. Bet now for Mark T. Show. What is this? Read this for me, Kim. Bid now it should be.
Bid now
for Mark T. Show. Fantastic heavyweight, heavy-duty banner.
The special message and celebrity signature from the one and only, the Mark Thompson.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. I'm glad somebody gets it.
Do you know who I am?
That's right.
I'm kind of a big deal.
I will be... I'll be autographing that for you. So
this has been.
No, that's not.
I love Janet's text. I would bid on it, but my husband already complained there are empty ornaments on the tree, and now he has to look at Mark's face all the time.
Wait a minute.
Who is having that conversation?
Exactly. Outrageous. Joe Box, 181.10. I get what he did with the KGO, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I got
You should have an ornament with your parents' faces.
Yeah, I think that would probably go for
more.
For more. Yeah. Well, get Joe Box's. Oh, we have till. Well, we're almost done with it, right?
Yeah.
So, you'll get Joe Box's information. And was there a backup bid to Joe Box?
Right now, it's Immortal Tiger with 125.
No. Okay. Good. All right. Well, that might be that. Those are the two winners. Randy has this comment about the COVID vaccines. Randy says China's COVID vaccines are crap and there aren't a lot of people that have been vaccinated anyway. There's some truth to that. And there really is some truth to that. And they've now even sort of rolled back, if you want to think of it that way, the program to get everybody vaccinated. But Randy's generally right. But I have news for you, Randy, about America. And I made this point the other day. Remember, I was talking about the new variants. There are two of them. They are almost completely evasive when it comes to the immunity that is afforded you by a vaccine or by having had COVID. So the new variants of COVID, completely immunity evasive, which is the problem in this country. So that's no fun either.
What?
Yeah, that we had that story the other day. So we're better off than China, and certainly what's going on in China would never stand in the U.S. But we are facing down a pretty grim winter season with both flu and COVID, and then the addition of this respiratory illness, which is taking a lot of people out. So more on that in the days ahead.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How about it for our guy, Steve Moskowitz, everybody? Steve, welcome, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Mark.
I loved our conversations yesterday, and I loved that you came through. For those who missed it, Steve was just really, it was sort of an ambush. We just hit him with this question about nonprofits and tax deductions and this sort of thing. And ERC, I believe the question was about. And Steve hit the ball, and he on the fly, just boom. So I don't have any questions like that today, but I was really...
You know what happens when I get invited to a cocktail party. I basically, you know how like at a wedding, there's a line to kiss the bride? So basically, when I go to a party, there's a line. I just have a quick question for you, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Can we go over here? So
it's great to see you. By the way, if you have a second, I brought a couple of, I've got some paperwork for you to look at type thing.
That's happened too.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is, we offer a full range of services, and basically, big companies have lots of people to do lots of things for them, but small companies don't need that, and they couldn't afford to hire all those people anyway. So a service that we offer is we give you those same services, but part-time, so it works. For example, we have HR services. So let me give you an example. Suppose you're an employer and you provide health care for your employees. And you're, with a nice big company, and there's a deductible for the employee to pay. So I'm a good employer, you do that. Give you an example. We go into the employer and we say, well, you know what? We're going to switch you to a better healthcare provider. Giant company, no little rinky-dinks, giant company. But this one, your employees will have zero deductible. That's a big deal to people.
Sure.
And we're going to add vision care. And we're going to add dental care. And we're going to offer life insurance, one of those deals where they can't turn you down no matter what's wrong with you. We're going to offer life insurance. And we're going to offer short-term disability, and they can't turn you down. And we're going to offer you long-term disability. And the employer says, oh my God, you're going to make me bankrupt. And we say, wait. We'll provide all of that for less than you're paying your current healthcare company with a deductible. That's just an example of one of the things we do for you. We have a full service to make you money and save you money and run your business better.
I love that. And I love that we're finally getting into, in many of our conversations, there was an urgency about ERC and ERC money, which is still out there. But the breadth of stuff that you do at Moskowitz, and you have an organization there that can handle tax issues and tax planning all across America. So it doesn't have to be in the Bay Area or California. If you're watching, we have viewers in other states. Please contact Steve Moskowitz, 888 tax deals, 888 TAXDEAL, 888 tax deal. You can also reach him online. It's moskowitzllp.com, MOSKOWITZ LLP.com. So all the ways to reach out to Steve. And I've mentioned it before. He's such an approachable person, and you get that sense here on the show. And his organization is run that way. That is to say, everybody in the Moskowitz group is approachable that way. You can always share your situation, and you never have to be embarrassed or ashamed of your situation. So contact Steve, 888-TAX-DEAL. Steve, we'll talk to you next hour.
And just one more thing. We're all simple people. We like to help our clients. We really feel good about that. And a question sometimes comes up when I'm dealing with somebody in another state. They say, well, gee, they're in Texas or Maine or New Hampshire, and don't you have to be an attorney admitted there to help me? And the bottom line is the IRS recognizes as an attorney member of any state bar. So in any IRS office in the United States, we're recognized as an attorney. And well, what about the tax court? Mark, there's only 19 presidentially appointed judges for the whole 50 states. They literally travel around the country. So if we appeared before a judge in Texas or Maine or New Hampshire. It'll be the same judge we would appear before in California. So really, we can take care of people all over the country and the world.
It's terrific. 888 Tax Deal. Thank you, Steve. Love
Thanks,
talking
Mark.
to you.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
I see a new amount as we wrap up the bidding on the banner behind me. The Mark Thompson Show official banner is going away, and someone is bidding on it and will receive it as a result of a winning bid today. I wonder if you could bring us up to speed on this, John Daly. What can you tell us about the scene?
What can you tell us about the scene?
It was neck and neck at the end there between Joe Box and Kevin Hobbs. But Kevin let Joe have it at 250.
Wow.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Stop it. So there may have been some intimidation.
Oh, wow. Well, that's
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
That's oftentimes how they work, those Joe Boxy people.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
But we cannot certify the auction results until payment is received at PayPal. So if you want to submit that winning amount, Joe, make sure you include your mailing address. Then I can certify the results.
All right. So, Joe, you heard that. You need to go to PayPal, which is there, easily accessible, at themarkthompsonshow.com. You'll make your donation. Note that you're Joe Box, and we will then put your address in there for us, and we will certify your donation, certify your bid, and I will have my team, my white-gloved team, fold up this beautiful banner, which has never been on the ground. It's a little like they used to talk about the flag. The flag's never supposed to touch the ground. Yeah. So this was unpackaged, and gloved hands put it up here behind me.
That's a big deal when you're in Boy Scouts. You never let any flag.
That's right. And it's a big deal here on the Mark Thompson Show. So you will receive this banner, and we will fold it up with care. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk to Jeremy B. White. We're doing that next, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay. Jeremy B. White with California Playbook from Politico. I want to talk to him about any number of things. Big congratulations to Joe Box I won't talk to him about that, but I just see it on the screen. Is that right? Calvin Wong with a donation of $200?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
That's insane. In a good way. Finally, some insanity in a good way. I have to say, Calvin, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry, but I'm not gonna cry.
That's more than enough for a second webcam.
It is true. It is true. Thank you for going the extra distance, too. Now, Calvin Wong is someone who went to themarkthompsonshow.com, then went to PayPal and made the donation. So there's a couple of extra clicks. So I'm giving you I'm not going to cry. I know. I'm moved by it. Calvin also produces a lot of content he's shoving content to me constantly, good stuff. So I'm appreciative of that as well. So I give him a big Dan Ashley shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. And thank you so much. And a British thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And for $200, I give you a Will Smith.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'll give you, for that $200, Calvin, that's a lot of money. I'm going to give you a thank you. So, Calvin, thank you. Joanne? Is that Joanne or Johan? Oh, I don't want to screw it up. $50. How can I screw that up? I don't want to screw up the pronunciation. How would you say it, Kim?
I would say
it looks Johan to me.
But it's most likely it's Joe.
Johan.
Well, it's not Johan. It's not Johan.
Well, Johan is Johan, but this is Anne.
No.
Johanna.
Maybe we'll get an answer in the chat.
Yeah. I don't want to blow this for you. If it's Joanne, but it's spelled in that kind of cool way that you've spelled it, then Joanne, thank you. Joanne Dichter. But if it's Johan, then thank you.
You get double
or
the
Johan.
thanks.
Anyway, I'm not going to cry.
Right. I think it's Joanne.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Joanne. Yeah.
She's going Joanne. Kim's going Joanne.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it could be Johan or Joe. Yeah. But anyway, Barry Klieger for $25. Or is it Klieger?
Did we decide not to do the news? It's okay.
Or is it Barry? No, I guess we decided not to. Somebody put the contributions up there.
We're moving past it. It's all right.
Here's I'm thinking at this
Kim,
point.
you derailed your own newscast by putting up the 250. Sorry.
Oh, she put it up. Oh, okay.
Or you did, Mark.
I didn't.
No,
I didn't put it up.
I
didn't put it up.
Oh,
what?
Well, one of you
Who's
did.
doing what?
Well,
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
I did not put it up.
The Mark Thompson Show run amok.
If you need to blame me, go ahead. But I do not put.
And this is their new hoax.
Yeah, I did not put it up.
Oh.
Anyway, Kim now would have to step back for Jeremy B. White, assuming that he joins. So,
yeah.
Did you send him the link, John?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Boy, that was the right answer. That was the right answer. I'm thinking, oh my God, don't.
But I like how you don't have faith in me. I appreciate
It's not that I don't have faith. I just want to make sure the guy's not here yet. So, it's a reasonable question to ask. You know what I mean? It's just
Do you know who I am?
Exactly.
Kind of a big deal.
I wanted to mention, so we'll be folding up the banner. I'm astounded by the, thank you, Barry, once again. Did I give Barry the appropriate, where's my big shout out?
Big shout out.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Big shout out to Barry. Thank you. And I can't wait to find.
Why don't we do news? I think we're fine.
Oh, okay, cool. So,
and if Jeremy B. White pops in, someone just cough, and then I'll stop talking. It's a good idea. It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
All right. Kim's news next as we continue. Thanks, everybody, for the donations. Thank you for smashing the like button. Even if you're watching in replay, please, especially if you're watching in replay, hit that thumbs up, that like button. Thanks so much. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. That's change the picture there because it was blinking. At least 2 people, sadly, are injured after a shooting at a Georgia Walmart. All these shootings at Walmart lately. Cobb County Police, northwest of Atlanta, tweeting there are several injuries. They say it's not an active shooter situation and there is no threat to the public. Again, this at a Georgia Walmart. President Biden speaking at the 10th annual National Vigil for all victims of gun violence tonight, being held after numerous mass shootings this year and a week before the 10-year mark since Sandy Hook elementary school shooting in Connecticut. Speaking at a remembrance benefit last night, former President Obama called the tragedy in which 20 children died the single darkest day of his presidency. One Republican senator is frustrated following his party's loss in Georgia's Senate runoff election. Florida's Rick Scott said Republicans need a good national message after Herschel Walker lost to Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock. Scott was in charge of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, meaning it was his job to elect Republicans to the Senate. Power's coming back on for about 20,000 people in North Carolina. This comes after a gun attack crippled 2 power substations, knocking out service for more than 40,000 customers. Duke Energy officials say the power will be fully restored by the end of today, but now other states are reporting targeted power outages similar to the one in North Carolina. A federal law enforcement memo obtained by News Nation says Oregon and Washington experienced physical attacks on substations in response to an online call for strikes on critical infrastructure. Homeland Security experts say they're not ruling out the action as domestic in nature. And the nation's second largest city is banning the sale and use of styrofoam products, a full ban on styrofoam approved by the Los Angeles City Council this week. It takes effect for small businesses in April of next year, for larger businesses in April of 2024. And if you ever wanted to take a little nap at Twitter, well, now's your chance. Twitter is being investigated for reportedly converting several offices into bedrooms for employees. The Department of Building Inspection in San Francisco confirming it will inspect the possible illegal conversions at Twitter headquarters. Elon Musk recently demanding employees who want to continue working for him have to agree to work long hours at high intensity. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call. It's 888-TAX-DEAL. He's online at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
What up, everybody? It is one of my favorite times of the week. We get to check in with someone who watches the world of California politics and just California in general, issues confronting the state and the state legislators. He joins us live now, Jeremy B. White. He's author of the California Playbook on Politico's website, and there's always good stuff there. I always tell people to Google it, find it, and then subscribe to it, and you'll be able to see so much of what's going on in California beyond just the politics. In fact, Jeremy, I wanted to, first of all, you did a cool thing about the new legislative session, and I'll get to that. But I wanted to ask you about what's happening in Los Angeles. I mean, they have numbers that are pretty grim when it comes to spikes in infectious disease, and they're considering these mask mandates again. Isn't that fair to say?
I don't know how serious that mask mandate consideration is. We did see the top health official there sort of musing that we could be on that path. I do think it is safe to say, though, that we are now in sort of the phase of this cycle that is seemingly going to be a recurring thing, which is that we're just going to see these spikes often tied to the winter. And so we're obviously in that now. You see the statewide rate going up as well as in particular areas of the state.
I like your hoodie, Jeremy, by the way.
Jeremy's
Thanks.
cool, man. Jeremy is really cool. By the way, I want to note something that I was just informed of. That the question I asked about, did Jeremy receive a link from us? Because Jeremy's very punctual and very... he didn't receive it because John...
I did not mean to besmirch his reputation. That was 100% me. I lied. I'm a liar.
You did misrepresent John. You kind of...
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
I did come
Jeremy.
clean.
I think a simple apology will work. I don't need you to, self-flagellate, but I needed a simple apology for...
I apologize to Jeremy and the Mark Thompson Show community.
All right.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
All right, Jeremy, let's continue now. I want to tell... So you think it's just so much... I don't want to say posturing, but it's just discussion around the mask mandate and around these new health figures. That's the real issue. But you think it very possible that nothing will be done in terms of an actual new mask mandate down there.
Sorry, try me again on that, Mark.
Just the fact you were just saying you just don't know how seriously they actually are going to get into a mask mandate. There are discussions around it, but you think there's just too much pushback from the public? Is that your instinct on it? And businesses?
I think also part of what public health officials are considering when they look at a mask mandate is not just infection rates, which are unquestionably going up, but factors like hospitalizations and deaths. And so, not having followed with as much precision as some of the reporters in LA, the specific LA debate, I think it is certainly safe to say that we are seeing spikes in not just COVID, but respiratory disease and the flu. And, even as vaccination has widely taken hold, I think we see that the rates are still going up pretty much every winter. And that may just be the reality that we live with for a while.
Yeah, it would appear so. So I mentioned the piece you did about the state legislature, and one of the things I learned, there were a few things I learned in the pieces in the California Playbook, is the idea that there is we think of it. This is sort of this state of California run by Democrats. They can push through whatever they want. You allude in the playbook to the fact that, getting coalitions within the overall coalition is sort of what the game of politics is in California. At least that's what I took in part. And that was an insight into the legislature, if indeed, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if indeed that's the case, that was an insight that I think really speaks to the complexities of the Democratic Party in California.
It's not possible, I think, to elect as many Democrats as California does, particularly in the legislature where they have 2/3 plus margins and have for a while, without getting a lot of variation. And the types of Democrats who can win and the issues that are important to their constituents in areas like the Central Valley or, Riverside, sort of eastern, inland Southern California, are often just going to look different from what you see in, San Francisco. And a lot of that is California is a big, diverse place economically, geographically, in terms of sort of income distribution. So, that's been the case for a while. And really that sort of tension between different wings of the Democratic Party in a lot of ways is the key fault line in California politics, more so than between Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, and as you say, it's been the case for a while, and so I am embarrassed to say that I never really focused on it. And you make reference to it. I thought, God, he's so right about that. That there's just these Newsom pushes back against members of his own party when it comes to they're bringing this this gas. It's really it's a gouging type. The notion that there are fuel price gouges going on around California, this is being brought up in the legislature. And you make the point that, Newsom is particularly sensitive to, I think you said sort of the notion that there are members of the legislature who are in the pocket of big oil or in the pocket of, this is even I'm sure there were accusations that Newsom's in the pocket of, PG&E and others. So I wonder if you could speak to that for a moment, because that was a front and center issue, I know, for Governor Newsom, even as they really couldn't get much done in this sort of early session.
I think interest group influence is really, and where people fall on different issues is again, sort of one of the main ways that you can differentiate different Democrats from one another, given that they all belong to the same party. What it really comes down to is where people fall on specific issues like the environment, labor regulations, that type of thing. Generally speaking, you will see that California Democrats are pretty on the same page on social issues when it comes to things like abortion or LGBTQ rights, even gun control. I think it's more of sort of the economic issues in which you tend to see that divergence more so. And I think that's true sort of at every level of government.
And on the homelessness issue, and I'm always struck by the limitations of the state legislature to address homelessness, or the governor's office to address homelessness for that matter. It seems to be so often an issue that's handled by municipalities and cities, but nonetheless, it comes around as a big deal in Sacramento.
Certainly, and I think that's one where there is pretty broad recognition that it is a problem, and I think you have even seen more recognition recently that the amount of money that the state has spent has not, or the state and various local governments has not been in and of itself sufficient to make a notable difference. I think it's not hard to sort of walk down the street and see that. So that is one where I don't know that there's quite as much sort of ideological diversity on the issue among Democrats, but it's certainly a major issue for the state.
The other thing, the other place where there may not be an ideological difference is when it comes to some of these cultural issues to which you've alluded. There's a sense of a homophobia that's growing. You've got the Supreme Court cases now. You've got a national conversation about abortion in ways because of that Supreme Court case. And California becomes this bastion of, I would suggest, it's a weird thing to say because I feel as though it should be so much across the entire country, but cultural enlightenment, and I'm talking about the culture, the social culture, and I'm wondering how important that is. If the legislature in California, if various political figures feel compelled, if you will, to step up on this issue.
Yeah, I think when it comes to social issues, like I said, that's one where Democrats tend to be very much on the same page. And there's certainly a lot of desire to maintain and expand California's role as sort of a haven when it comes to gay rights or abortion access. So that's something that I think the party tends to be on the same page on.
Last thing before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about this is the workings of the legislature that we don't necessarily follow the way you do. It's done now, or when does it close down for the holidays, and when does it reconvene?
Yeah, so the legislature is officially in session. New members were sworn in on Monday. They've started introducing bills, but essentially they don't really get to work until January. That's when we will see an initial budget proposal and folks introduce more bills. And then there's sort of a bit of a waiting period before you can vote on those bills. So things really get going in terms of those bills getting voted on and rejected or passing committees in the spring. So it's really more sort of the initial moves at this point.
What happens to the California Playbook people? Do you guys take a break also?
We take a short one around the holidays, but just a short one.
John, could you, and I don't know if I can count on you for anything anymore, John, but could you please get Jeremy's address so we can send him a piece of coveted Mark Thompson Show merch? Would you do that, please? All right. I'm so grateful. Jeremy, I say this, it's so very true. I know KGO collapsed, and that you came over to us here and continue to offer information and critical information as the legislature unfolds and as California issues unfold. I'm so very grateful. So thank you, my friend.
I appreciate you guys.
Okay. See you, Jeremy B. White, everybody.
Hi, Jeremy B. White.
Yeah. Love it, love it, love it. I know.
I think he'd look good in a beanie. We need to get him a beanie.
Yeah, beanie might be right for him. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, so thank you for checking us out this way on the YouTube stream. We're live every day from 10 to noon. And in fact, I want to thank you for smashing the like button like a boss, the thumbs up.
Smash it with your iron rod.
And do it with your iron rod if you want, or do it with your thumb if you want. If you got an iron rod, that's certainly a great thing. I do want to mention, this is Kim's favorite piece of Mark merch.
It's called the Touch Tool.
It arrived today to the Mark Thompson estate.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you can see it. It's very hard to see. It's got the website in there.
That's
Can
nice.
you?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can make it
golden.
out.
It's like a golden key.
Yeah. It's like an iron rod in a way, I think.
Well, it's very Lord of the Rings with the inscription.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Smash it with your touch.
You don't want to sully your hands to touch the things.
Yeah, so you hook. You can hook. That's right. You can open doors this way. You can press things like at the gas station where you got to press in. This is a terrific thing. So it just arrived, and I wanted to share it with you. It's Kim's favorite thing.
It is.
She just likes the title Touch Tool, I think, to be perfectly honest.
Well, it sounds like it could be naughty, but it isn't.
Yeah.
Well, she's got her whip, and she's got her touch tool.
She is between the whip and the touch tool. She's a busy girl.
Yeah.
That's it. That's where you're going.
Oh.
Found it.
Good morning.
I did. I did want to mention one other big news story.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Okay, all right, thank you. The news story I want to mention to you has to do with two very high-profile media figures.
So yourself and someone else?
Well, believe it or not, there are other high-profile media figures besides me. Oh. I know it's unreal, but it's true. And this particular pair is on Good Morning America. Does anybody watch Good Morning America?
I don't, but there's some hanky-panky going on at the
I haven't watched it since Spencer left.
Yeah, there you go. Wow, that's so well played. So well played.
Yeah, that's good.
The two are named Amy Robach and TJ Holmes. Look at them. They are a good-looking pair, got to say. Yeah, absolutely.
And TJ used to be on NBC 11.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Man, that's a...
circa 2008, 2009.
Wow, so he's got a Bay Area history. I didn't realize that. They're on the show together, and they're off the show together.
It's fantastic.
That's right. Amy Robach and TJ Holmes are temporarily pulled off GMA 3. I guess that's the third hour of GMA.
It's it's like there was a sequel. Right. So this is the third one. Right.
Man.
The box office isn't as good though.
Yeah, apparently. I will tell you this, and this may surprise you, but when I heard that these two were fooling around with each other, and he's divorced his wife now, and she's, I think, left her husband as well, I thought to myself, why would you pull them off the air? This publicity is only good. It gets more people interested in watching Good Morning America. But then I learned.
It's awkward.
No, I don't know about that. I mean, look.
Weird.
A little footsie under that glass table.
It feels weird.
That's the best part. You see? It's the weirdness, and are they fooling around? And look at how they're looking at each other. That brings boys to the yard, people.
Plus, didn't they
You've got to
violate
understand it. I mean,
You just
like a
don't
morality
get it.
yes,
Weird.
you don't get it. No, you
No.
don't get it. No, they violated their vows. Police!
There's no
I'm so
hot sex
sick
in
of
the
that
newsroom.
violating the vows stuff.
They
No
do work
hot
for
sex
Mickey
in the
Mouse.
newsroom.
Oh.
No.
It's fantastic.
Yes. No, let me just speak to why it was smart now to take them off the air. Because my initial instinct was to leave them on. And they didn't violate their vows. If you read through, there are different timelines, and it looks as though they were not in marriages when they began their relationship. But the problem is not their relationship, Kim. The problem is their relationships with others, particularly in the case of T.J. Holmes. He was, I guess, quite the, should I just say it, runaround, according to published reports. And this was not his first relationship in the ABC building. He was carrying on with others.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's a cheater, pumpkin eater.
Yes, he apparently he liked to, visit with other women and had carried on with them. And here is perhaps the most difficult part for TJ. Apparently, he's not the nicest guy, according to published reports. A lot of people say he's sort of a difficult dude. He's a real do you know who I am guy. And that doesn't help you when decisions are being made about your future. So he's accused of multiple affairs with GMA staffers, and he's also viewed as a problem dude. He's 45 years old. He had a 3-year affair with married producer Natasha Singh. Now, Kim, you see, she was married. And, so she violated a vow. For you, that would be a deal buster, right?
Yeah, it would be. But I think the question is, were they cheating before they ended their relationships? Like, are they adulterers, or did they, were they separated before they started hooking up? And no one knows. So in that case, it's just weird and icky, and they should not be together on the air, probably.
Well,
not in this puritanical society.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a little less
Smash
judgy.
it with your iron rod.
ABC News executive Kim Godwin made this decision. She told staffers, quote, "I want to say that while that relationship is not a violation of company policy, I have taken the last few days to think about and work through what I think is best for the ABC News organization."
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
And she added, "This is something we're not going to talk about on this call." This is from the call, obviously, "until there is more to be said. I'm asking that we stop the whispering in the hallways. We can't operate with gossip and speculation and rumors. We need to stay focused on the work." But she took off Holmes and Robach, and they were spotted getting cozy with each other on multiple dates in New York. And in one shot, Robach is smacked on the backside by Holmes. And then the married producer was allegedly blindsided by the photos of her husband and Roebuck. I see that's his wife was allegedly blindsided by the photos of her husband and Roebuck. So you may be right, Kim. You may be right that that she was not aware, even though they might have not been in the best marital situation, she was not aware that there was an issue and that they were seeing other people. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a look. The heart wants what it wants. Am I right, people? I don't know. I get it that that you have vows and all that stuff. But it's a shame because they're both very attractive people, and attractive people tend to be attracted to each other, I think.
When you're on a national television show, you have to know that if you're cheating with each other, it's going to be news and it's going to be scrutinized. What a bunch of dummies. If they want their jobs,
You can say we don't want the gossip and blah, blah, but this is what people are into. You know what I mean? Who's dating who? And then you've got two people who are married or separated or something. And, one of them is messing around to the point that the wife didn't know it. And they're a real item, these two. But they're probably not going to be on TV for a little while. So
they're an item now until he cheats on her with the next person,
Right. That's right. Cheater's going to cheat.
They can start a YouTube channel or an OnlyFans.
That's right.
Cheater's going to cheat. That's it.
All right. When we come back, there is much still to do today. We got some law and disorder. There's a lot of it. Justice Department and special counsel. Big news out of the Trump organization. We've got a chunk of Trump still to come. Big second hour. Smash the like button like a boss. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Former President Trump being blamed for Herschel Walker's loss in the Georgia Senate race by the state's Republican lieutenant governor. Speaking to CNN, Jeff Duncan said, every Republican in this country ought to hold Donald Trump accountable for this. Duncan also boiled down the loss to candidate quality. Inflation is leading some to second guessing about those annual holiday tips. Etiquette experts say it is okay not to give as much as you normally do. Diane Gottsman with the Protocol School of Texas, there's a Protocol School of Texas, says handmade gifts are thoughtful, but keep in mind want to eat what you cook for many reasons. So, homemade brownies might not be wanted. President Vladimir Putin says Russia will continue its war in Ukraine. He also said at the Kremlin he would fix equipment shortages for Russian troops. He says fighting consistently can be the only answer from Russia. The COVID crisis soaring now across the Bay Area. Santa Clara County, the latest to give an update yesterday showing the level found in wastewater is high and it's rising fast. San Jose is at more than 80% of last year. Palo Alto has already topped last winter's Omicron surge. Hospitalizations have doubled since last month. This comes as flu and RSV cases continue to put a strain on healthcare. It is day 2 of California's historic offshore wind auction. 6 companies still fighting for the opportunity to build massive floating wind farms off the coast. 5 sites will be sold, 2 in the Humboldt area, 3 in Morro Bay. No winners emerged after 20 rounds yesterday. Governor Gavin Newsom saying offshore wind is a critical component to achieving the goal of transitioning to 90% clean energy by 2035.
It is a critical component, but I will just to add this, that it is a controversial thing. And I'm a tree hugger, so it's coming from a place where I really embrace both the alternative energy part of this and the aggressive moves to kind of move in that direction, and we're way behind. However, there are environmental concerns. There's no free lunch. Steve Moskowitz can tell you that. Yeah, we can talk more about
bird strikes and stuff.
I'm talking about bird strikes. I'm talking about threat to wildlife. And whales, for example. I think a lot of people like whales and marine life. And when you're building these things, you've got to use huge cables and drag them out. And there are tons of, as you might imagine, freighters and ships involved in carting a bunch of materials to these various spots. They're immensely destructive, those things, when it comes to whales and sea life. So there has to be, and they're trying to address this. They're trying to impose speed limits, for example, on some of these big vessels so that they are able to keep a lid on the damage. But you can see how, again, everything with a cost, So, but nonetheless, this is a great story. I'm glad you're reporting it.
Well, we do the good stories here at the Mark Thompson Show News Network. We have the full power of the network behind us. There are 2 women suing Apple in a class action suit alleging the tech giant's AirTags can be used by stalkers. The suit, filed in San Francisco federal court, claims Apple is guilty of negligence, product liability, violating privacy rights, and other consumer violations. AirTags are battery-powered devices about the size of a quarter, maybe a little bigger, designed to be used to keep track of keys, purses, backpacks, and other belongings. But yeah, they could be used to keep track of people. Speaking of animals, the Big Cat Public Safety Act is headed to President Biden's desk. It was made famous by the Tiger King Netflix series, and it passed unanimously in the Senate. It is expected to be signed by President Biden. The bill restricts private ownership of big cats like tigers, with possession of those animals and crossbreeds limited to wildlife sanctuaries, state universities, and certified zoos only. So no longer could you just have a tiger in your backyard. And here's a very Mark Thompson-y story. Actors Barry Pepper and Sam Neill are set to star in a new mob thriller called Bring Him to Me. The film follows a getaway driver following orders from a mob boss who's tasked with driving a young passenger to an unknown fate.
Wow.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Yeah. They're currently filming Bring Him to Me in Australia.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
Okay, wow.
Bring Him to Me. The news sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve, who we love and adore, has put his tax knowledge to work for everybody, individuals, businesses. It don't matter. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call. It's 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can reach him online at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Bring me some Moskowitz, everybody. How about it for Steve Moskowitz? Yeah, we talk about him a lot because we love him. He's our sponsor, but he also is, like, as we're talking about, you could have a lot of sponsors. You could have Cars for Kids. You could have the...
No, you can't have that.
No, I'm saying, the old radio station, they had a lot of stuff on there. I'm going, wow, man, we really, come on. But Steve Moskowitz is so respected, and he's such I call him an elite sponsor for that reason. And I'm just so proud to have him on the show. Steve, let's talk about some of the services at
Thank
Moskowitz.
you, Mark. And I'm so proud and happy to be here. When you were talking about Bring Him to Me, I thought you were talking about an IRS audit.
Bring him to me. Yeah.
Well, I told you about my IRS audit. If I'd known you then,
would make a difference, because in almost all cases, you don't have to show up. We do everything for you. We show up for you. We talk for you. We do everything for you. And there's no benefit you're being there. Much like surgery, the surgeon does not need you awake. There's no benefit to that. And in almost all cases, we can go there for you. And, in an audit, it's so vitally important that you have good representation, because an audit is a gateway to bad things. And it's an examination. That's how most cases go criminal, when the civil audit says, hey, there's something going on here. And we're talking about that. I'm not suggesting that everybody is like the Trump organization, but take a look at that. You have the accountant there. He was the star witness for the prosecution. And the reason he was willing to do that was he only got 5 months in prison instead of 15 years.
Right.
But you notice we've talked about that on your show, the value of attorney-client privilege. The star witness for the prosecution was Trump's former accountant. Whereas an attorney, you have attorney-client privilege. That's what I was saying the other day. Whatever you say to your attorney, even literally, if you murdered 100 people, the attorney, by law, whether you hire him or not, just to say, look, you murdered these 100 people, by law, that's a secret. The prosecutor can't say, okay, what did that guy say about murdering that group of people? Can't say. And that's just one of the values and one of the differences between fessing up to your CPA and fessing up to your attorney. Major difference.
I never even thought that if Trump, I mean, this is a weird thing to say, but I'll just say it. If Trump had Steve Moskowitz instead of this guy Weisselberg, that literally this trial might not have ever gone down the way it went down with a guilty verdict. I mean, Trump was really running roughshod. He was doing so many illegal things. You would not have been cool with it. That's the problem. Steve never would have signed off on all the illegalities, you know.
No.
But I'm just saying the last part where he wasn't a lawyer, that really did hurt him, didn't it?
Oh, again, imagine the guy that you've trusted with all your secrets is now the number one prosecution witness. That's the problem with being represented by CPAs. I know they do it all the time, but whatever you tell the CPA, the IRS can get. And more the IRS is doing that, where they're saying, okay, Mr. or Ms. CPA, what'd your client tell you? What'd you tell him? Hand over the documents. Whereas an attorney, that's sacred, attorney-client privilege. So that's a big difference. And, you know, as a client, you don't want to find that out the hard way. You don't want somebody telling you, oh, too bad you did that with your CPA instead of the tax attorney. That's a major point. And again, you know, these things we live with daily, but with the Trump trial in the news, it's something good for everybody to think about. You know, you have to, in today's day and age, you have to be very, very careful about who you're going to trust with your secrets.
So true. So true. Steve can be your representative with the U.S. government, and you need a representative with the U.S. government. I've gone in there before I knew Steve. It was many years ago, and they just ate me for breakfast. So, I wasn't even trying to get away with anything. Like, I didn't do anything illegal. I just didn't really understand. And so the guy who was doing my taxes sent me in, and it was a bloodbath. Call Steve Moskowitz. He can help you with tax planning. He can help you take advantage of the many ways in which the code works for you. But you won't know it unless you talk to Steve. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. What's that, Kim?
I was going to say, plus he looks really sharp today. Are you going to court or something? You look good.
Oh, well, thank you very much. There's another appearance that I have to make today, so thanks very much. I appreciate that.
There are a lot of people in the chat commenting on how spiffy Steve Moskowitz looks. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAXDEAL. You can also reach him online, MoskowitzLLP.com, MoskowitZ, MoskowitzLLP.com. Steve, thank you for being here, and thank you for your support, and we look forward to the next time.
A pleasure and honor, guys. Thanks so much.
Okay, yeah, Steve Moskowitz, everybody. Yeah, love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Nice suit, says Jefferson Graham. Has anybody ever gone over to Photo Walks? He's got some great stuff at Photo Walks right now. The tour of Paris that you can do with your iPhone. He takes you to all these places in Paris. First of all, it's just cool to be taking all these places in Paris.
Yeah.
Because most of us aren't going to Paris this year.
No.
But the other thing is, like, he shows you things that you can do with the camera in Paris. And when I say the camera, just with your iPhone, that are really cool, and from different vantage points, how you can shoot different things. And those tips you can apply to your life and other stuff, and just, shooting photos. So it's a great Photo Walks. You can just find it on YouTube. It's across all these different platforms. But part 2 and part 3 out this weekend, he says. Photo Walks TV with Jefferson Graham. Before I get to Law and Disorder and Chunk of Trump, is there anything I need to get to?
Contributions.
Let's thank Harry.
Harry Morgan. Harry Magnan.
Magnan. Like iMagnans. Yeah.
I like iMagnans. Big shout out to Harry. The YouTube people have, for the moment, demonetized this show. It's not because of anything we've said or done, but it's because of it literally is a clerical thing. So thank you, Harry. I'm sorry, Mark, I can't do that. But the deal is, everything is going extremely well.
Everything is going extremely well.
All right.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
Yes, I think you know what the problem is. Mark.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
My name's not Dave, and we really need you to do that. The deal with YouTube, though, is that until we get that ironed out, it's just a clerical error. You have to do what Harry did, and Harry went the extra step. He went to themarkthompsonshow.com, and he clicked on the donation or contributions through PayPal, and that's the contribution. So, Harry, I give you a big Dan Ashley shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Really cool, Harry. Thank you, pal. Beth Farmer, same thing. Beth, thank you so much. I'm going to give you the British thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Beth Farmer. $20. Thank you, darling. I really do appreciate it. I know it's an extra click and you got to go through some trouble. You have to enter your credit card. Really matters and it really helps us here. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Joe Box, if you haven't certified your bid within the next 15 minutes, what would you say? Is that how long we're going to give him to certify his bid on PayPal?
Yeah, so an hour, 10:30 to 11:30.
Yeah, 10:30 to 11:30. We'll give you to 11:30 to certify your bid. Otherwise, Joe Box, you are...
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Kevin Hobbs is in the wings.
Kevin Hobbs is going to be the guy. Yeah. Kevin, don't forget, you'll indicate how you want it inscribed. And I will inscribe the banner behind me, which is going away today. It will be folded up. It'll be inscribed. It'll be sent off to maybe Kevin Hobbs because Joe Box has not ponied up the bid amount on the PayPal site. So
he may be getting a bag together with bundles of cash.
Well, Joe is, he definitely marches to a different drummer. So
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Yeah, well, good luck. Kevin, we love you. Joe Box, we thought we loved you. But if you can't come up with the money, not that we don't love you. Hey, the money. It's all about the money, Mark. Come on. You know I'm good for the money.
You've got to shake someone down first.
Yeah, I said I would give you the money. I'm going to give it to you.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law, you're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
There is overlap today with the Law and Disorder segment and the Trump Organization, although I will deliver you a chunk of Trump after this, so I'm holding back. It's a piece of breaking Trump news. But for now, I wanted to tell you that the Justice Department has subpoenaed Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin officials for communications they had with the former president. This is a big, big story. And this speaks to the special counsel, Jack Smith, and how he's leaning in. He has sent grand jury subpoenas to local officials in Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin, 3 states that were central to former President Donald Trump's failed plan to stay in power following the 2020 election. He's seeking any and all communications with Trump. They're also looking at Trump campaign aides and any aides and allies. When I say any, they have a long list of them. So this is a huge, huge drop of subpoenas on this crew. You remember that this is the special counsel appointed by the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, to oversee the Trump-related aspects of the investigation. It's, I think, was designed to try to depoliticize it. You know how I feel like the whole thing is politicized, but maybe this will work, and this guy certainly seems to have an aggressive instinct. So the subpoenas, at least 3 of which are dated November 22nd, indicate that the Justice Department is extending its examination of the circumstances leading up to the Capitol attack to include local election officials and their potential interactions with the former president and his representatives related to the 2020 election. So this is that. The Trump Organization, as you're aware, was just convicted of fraud. We just noted it with Steve Moskowitz in that conversation. He is sadly, I mean, if you're not a fan of Trump and you feel he gets away with stuff all the time, and I think that that's a reasonably defensible position, you're probably disappointed that he himself, even though he was running the organization, it was the Trump Organization, he himself not mentioned in all of this. The Trump Organization found guilty on 17 counts of tax fraud and other financial crimes. The charges were specifically about whether the company properly paid taxes related to fringe benefits. We've detailed these for you before. This is where Alan Weisselberg, who's the chief financial officer, received as part of his salary is the allegation of the government, and indeed a jury found him guilty. In other words, the allegation believable, that there was monies dedicated to his kids' education. They, gave him a car. They gave him housing. Trump himself signed checks for Weisselberg's housing. So it's weird that the breadcrumb trail goes back to Trump, but somehow he's carved out of this entire thing. It's embarrassing for Trump, but it's not damning in any kind of enduring legal way. And then there's one other thing I want to tell you, but then I'll get onto other stuff about Trump, just because he does have additional legal exposure that's far more serious. The penalty for this, all that stuff I just detailed for you, the penalty for this is a tepid penalty. Did you see how much he's going to be fined? I'm going to ask you in the chat, how much is the fine for all of these things, 17 counts of tax fraud and other financial crimes? How much is the Trump organization going to be fined for that?
I find it surprisingly low. Slap on the wrist low. That's a hint.
$750,000, says the Photo Walks TV host Jefferson Graham. $1.5 million, says Daryl. $1.5 million, says Rosie. 1.7 says SF Tesla. 125,000, which is a joke on the part of Gil. Everybody's going 1.5 million, and indeed it's 1.7 million, I think. 1.6 million. 1.6 million is the maximum amount that can be fined. It's insanely low.
It's nothing for them. It's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for them. It's like they blink and spend that much money.
That's exactly right. The real danger for Donald Trump isn't this. The real danger for Donald Trump is in the Georgia investigation and in this Jack Smith, the special prosecutor. Make no mistake about it. His legal maneuvering will not get him around those situations. Meddling, trying to overthrow and undermine an election in Georgia, and all of the other things associated with January 6th and an attempted coup on the U.S. government that Jack Smith, the special counsel, is looking into. And that's the Georgia district attorney. This is a big deal, and it's a state charge, so you can't pardon yourself out of it.
Derelict calls it Trump change instead of Trump change.
Trump change. That's exactly right. It is. It is Trump change. It's true. Hertz is going to pay $168 million to customers they falsely accused of stealing their cars.
Can you even believe this story? Like, you rent a car, you're driving down the road, then you got the lights and sirens. Woo, woo. I'm sorry, ma'am. Step out of the vehicle. What? I rented this car. Well, Hertz says you stole it, lady.
What?
Exactly. The total settlement will cover 364 people. It wasn't just a handful of people.
It's all kinds of situations.
Falsely accused of car theft.
I got the rental paperwork right here.
Yeah.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
It's not fun. Not fun to get. That's a situation, I would say.
What he's got going here is a situation.
In total, the settlement will cover 364 people falsely accused of car theft. The company said the number represents more than 95% of the claims. They've got a new CEO. They've got a new CEO. And he's trying to, it's like, welcome to the company. Glad you're on as CEO. By the way, the first thing you have to do is settle all these false claims that we have of people ripping off our cars. Almost 400 of them. It's absolute craziness. It's absolutely craziness. I don't know how that happens. But, Kim, it makes me think of yesterday when we were talking about Sharia law, and there's this new thing in Sharia law in Indonesia where you have to be, if you have sex outside of marriage,
right,
you're in violation of Sharia law. They will fine you and they will imprison you. And we talked about this yesterday. And in Bali, they're crazy angry about this because most of the tourists who go there are married, many of them anyway, So, I mean, it's really going to affect tourism
this
in a big way.
season on Sharia law. All new.
So, but I was saying to Kim said, well, I could still go because I'm married, but that's not the point. They can falsely accuse of things. Look at how they falsely accused all these people of stealing those cars. Yeah. And, they'll throw you in an Indonesian prison and you'll go, but I'm married. So
their computer system was not keeping track of things. So some people were trying to extend their contracts, right? They kept the car for an extended period of time. And the computer didn't reflect that. In other cases, they found the car but didn't clear it up with the police. So the next person who rented it got pulled over. Some people lost, they separated from their children, separated from their children for 30 days in the slammer.
Outrageous.
Oh, it really is.
Everything is going extremely well.
The computer once again doing you no favors. Oh, crazy.
I mean, seriously, can you imagine? You go into a place, you're already being, gouged by the rental car company.
Seriously, what
the you check off the box. Yes, I'll buy your extra insurance. Yes, I'll, whatever. I'll return the car in exactly the shape you've given it to me. And then you get pulled over and arrested. I am telling you, no settlement is enough.
Well, and some people tried to get jobs and were disqualified because there was this pending
they had
felony.
A record?
Yeah.
And imagine that. I mean,
it was Hertz.
It's brutal.
Sorry,
right.
Ms. McAllister. The Mark Thompson Show can't hire you because you're a car thief.
Talk to the AI. That's Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on the Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Yeah, be careful. Coming up, isn't Hiltzik going to join us?
Yes, he's in the
green
room.
I love that. Oh, well, Michael Hiltzik is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and we went to the same university, so I like to think that I'm Pulitzer Prize adjacent,
Went to the same university.
If he's already in the green room and he is a Pulitzer Prize winner, do you want to skip news and go straight to the award-winning journalist?
What would you like to do, John? You're the producer of this thing. And
whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
Okay, well, you want to do it?
How about if I just do one story because it's important?
Well, if you're just going to do one story, there's a breaking Trump story I'd like to do.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I do a chunk of Trump instead? Okay. Yeah. Here's a chunk of Trump because it's a breaking chunk of Trump story.
Open wide.
Yeah.
Ready? Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Now, classified documents have been found in the Trump search of a storage site. The discovery came as a series of searches were conducted by a team hired by Trump.
Okay. Do you just wonder where else they are? Like, okay, they're in a special little room behind the kitchen at Mar-a-Lago. Now they're in a storage locker. For crying out
21
loud.
documents found at a Chipotle outside of, outside of Miami. No, this is this truly is a search conducted by a team hired by the former president after a federal judge directed lawyers to look for any material still in his possession. So the judge said to Trump lawyers, go look to see if there's anything else here, because the guy's got 11,000 documents. It's possible that they're more than just this. So he hired people to search 4 properties after being directed by this federal judge to do that. And they found at least 2 documents with classified markings, everybody, because you've got to take those classified marking documents with you. I mean, otherwise, where's your brag,
I can't even.
They found them inside a sealed box in one of the locations. His search team discovered the documents at a federally run storage site in West Palm Beach, Florida, prompting the lawyers to notify the Justice Department about them. So that is breaking Trump news.
Like, how do you steal classified documents and you don't even know where you put them?
Well, when you have a lot, it's hard to keep track of him. He's not the most organized guy. That's your chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time.
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
For another chunk of Trump.
All right, so you are good with us bumping your news and bringing on a Pulitzer Prize winner?
Please. Yeah. I mean,
Hiltzik's cool. I mean, he'd be cool with you doing a little news too, probably. But
you'll notice that he's a real news guy just by the look of his office. I've said before, this is the real deal. This guy. So I'm happy to be bumped.
You know what, Kim? You're easily swayed by that kind of thing. It's a very superficial suggestion that you're making, that you can tell the nature of a guy's body of work based on his office. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. You just wait. You just wait, and then you tell me I'm wrong.
All right. Smash the like button like a boss for everything we're doing on the show today, and now let's get right to
The Mark Thompson Show.
He is a Pulitzer Prize winner. He is the business writer for the LA Times. You can read him across the world, and he is Michael Hiltzik, everybody. I love my Hiltzik. I've never seen his office before, although I will confess I did get a glimpse of it on Nikki's show. He was over on Nikki's show a couple of weeks ago. And it is impressive, Michael, I will say. I will grant you that.
Yeah. You know, you can tell an author by his desk, so.
You can? You can? You feel you were able to?
Well, I like to think that I can, but
So, Hiltzik, I'm going to start with this. Where is the Pulitzer, pal? Do you have it there? Is it in the immediate area, or do you have it showcased perhaps in another part of the house?
No, I think it's...
it's like Where's Waldo?
It's behind me somewhere.
I love that. He doesn't even know where the Pulitzer Prize is. He doesn't know where his Pulitzer Prize is. Come on.
It's right there next to my 7th grade trophies.
Maybe Trump's team can find it.
Pull that false modesty on me.
I'll have them come down and look. Yeah.
Well, next time I want to see it. I'd like to see the Pulitzer Prize, but this time I'll let you skate. Yeah.
Next time I'll dig it up and drag it out. I mean, there's a globe. See, there's a sort of a globe. That's something.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, you don't have any merch, do you? How about that, pal? I win the brag off when it comes to merch. Look at all this. This looks like I'm, my show's being done from an apartment store. Yeah. By the way, this this banner behind me has just been auctioned off. The audience has stepped up, and we were giving it to a guy named Joe Box, but he didn't come through with the money, and so now we're giving it to the backup
Joe
bidder.
Box and Little Anthony.
Yeah, I guess maybe he's hanging with Little Anthony, and so Joe Box is a fraud. We found out, or there might be extenuating circumstances. Yeah. So Kevin isn't it Kevin who's going to get it?
Kevin Hobbs, yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Hobbs. So come on, how about a little something for Kevin Hobbs? All right, now let's get it. Yeah, go ahead.
Was Joe Box going to pay in dollars or Bitcoin or?
Well, it's
Mark bills.
Yeah, it was likely a cash deal, knowing Joe Box.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Right, exactly. Hey, listen, Mark. Why is it always about the money with you? Come on, you know I'm good for it. Let me see the banner. So Hiltzik's not a fan of the crypto. He really feels as though it's a scam. I think you'd say that, right? Yeah.
It is a scam. It's always been a scam. It's basically just a con game, and we see. And I've been writing about it. It looks like my first article about Bitcoin ran in 2013, and I've always predicted that it was going to come to nothing.
But if you'd actually bought Bitcoin in 2013 when you wrote that article, and you then sold it in 2020, you would have made some serious loot. Am I right, Michael Hiltzik?
Well, some people would have, but the community of Bitcoin owners who were able to get in at that stage and stay in is very small. And that's something that people don't understand about crypto, is that there's a small community of big whales, big players, and then there's everybody else who gets sucked into it by commercials on the Super Bowl, and they buy at the top, and then they wake up one day and they discover that they've got about 20% of what they started with. So they're the ones who are, the average investor is being taken to the woodshed.
But let me go through the process of being. Let me just quickly, and I won't spend much time. I want to move on to a couple other things. But the process of being taken to the woodshed, or the scam, or whatever, somebody's cashing out, and so you're saying the cashing out process leaves a lot of people just holding the bag. Who is getting rich then?
Well, there's a whole variety of ways in which investors have been killed here. The conventional market risk is you buy from somebody for, let's just take Bitcoin, which peaked at about $60,000 per coin. And at some point you sell because it's gone down, and then somebody who's on the inside has bought it from you, but essentially, profited from the difference. You've lost money, and you've lost it to these people who bought from you at a lower price. Then there's a whole panoply, a whole pageant of cons that we've seen, including the latest one, FTX, where you parked your crypto with this broker that presented itself as the one honest broker that was protecting your money and was backed up like it was a real bank, and then you discover that they've taken your money and spent it on themselves, or they've invested it on other crypto investments that turned out to be worth nothing, and it's all gone. So, who profited? Well, it's the insiders who pocketed payouts from this firm, some of which was funded by people who thought their money was safe.
Panoply is a ding word. You're right about that, everybody. I did want to say, though, that, Michael, what's confusing is that many legitimate minds, if I can sort of just make up a generic term, I'm talking about the Morgan Stanleys of the world, these big investment organizations that are populated by people I would presume with, sort of the same business acumen that you'd find with top Wall Street people or top, investors. They actually developed arms of their company to help in investment in crypto. Doesn't that suggest that there's some kind of legitimacy to it?
Well, no. In a word, what was going on here is that these investment firms, Morgan Stanley, J.P. Morgan, they were not investing for themselves. They weren't putting their own money into this. Jamie Dimon, who's the chairman and CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, constantly said this is just nonsense. But what these firms were doing is they were getting queries. They were getting pressure from their clients who said, "Gee, we hear a lot about crypto. Can't you give us a way to put our money into crypto?" So they'd say, "Yeah, sure. We're in the business of serving the clientele." So they would set up funds or investment mutual funds, what have you.
You're saying they were meeting demand. They
weren't doing it for themselves.
No, I get it. They were meeting demand, and they were not recommending to their clients.
And they were sort of grinning, behind their hands, and saying, "This idiot, he wants to be in crypto, so let's, let him be in crypto."
Well, there was a robust demand for it, and there was a real market for it, and there is also crypto is a big term that affects under the umbrella of crypto. There are a lot of different coins and tokens, and the fact that, for example, Bitcoin, which is just one of the coins, and then I really do want to move on. We'll try to move on to something else, but I just think it's intriguing to talk with you about this, because you were on another show, you were on Nikki's show the other day, and I was thinking, God, I wish I was in there talking to Hiltzik about this. Although you guys covered a lot of territory, the Bitcoin has value in certain transactional ways, Michael Hiltzik. It has, over the last few years, been adopted transactionally. Transactionally, yes, it has.
It has, but the bottom line is that these things don't have any real value. They're
pump
just
and dump.
Valuable as what you can get the next fool to buy them from you at. They don't have any intrinsic value. They don't give you the opportunity to do anything with your money or your assets that you can't do, in fact, much more easily with dollars. And that's the scam that underlies all this is that the Bitcoin and the crypto promoters say, we're doing something that you can't do through, your normal bank or your normal brokerage, and what we allow you to do is better for you than working through a bank. But it turns out, if you really look, it's not better for you. It's not good for the consumers. All of the supposed virtues that they talk about are, in fact, detriments to the way people need to manage their money. So it's really, all of these things are sooner or later going to go to zero. Bitcoin, may last a little bit longer because it's the best known and at this point the most traded, but it also is not worth anything really in the market, except in its own market. But
right. It's what I think of is the NFT market and how you must. That's the only way you can buy an NFT is with crypto. Now you would say you don't want to buy an NFT.
I don't know why anybody wants an NFT. I mean, these things were a joke from the get-go, and when we've seen in the NFT market, we've seen people who plunged into it and paid $1 million for an NFT, and then when they went to sell it, somebody offered them a couple of thousand. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I think that NFTs are over already.
I see, and we can really get to other stuff, but I do see a robust demand still. Like they just finished this Art Basel in Miami, and there are whole galleries devoted to the NFT market. From an art standpoint, it's relevant. Now, again, outside looking in, it seems crazy. Like you can almost barely understand it, but there are in this Web3 development, which is on the blockchain, if you will. There are a lot of nooks and crannies that may have some legitimacy. I mean, you would say no, and they're certainly not traditional investments. But you'd say they're worse than that.
Well, they're not traditional investments, and the sort of the rear guard action is, well, maybe these individual crypto tokens or cryptocurrencies aren't worth much, but the blockchain technology is great. Except that if you then look at, well, what has anybody done with blockchain, you find out that the answer is nothing. There was a very interesting post by a former executive at Amazon who was one of the people in charge of Amazon Web Services, which is a huge part of Amazon. It's the division they've got that serves the cloud, and they've got a lot of clients, and their CEO went to them, the IT guys, and said, I'm getting a lot of questions from our clients at AWS who want to know about blockchain, So the IT guy said, well, all right, we'll go and check it out. And they did a tour and they talked to blockchain promoters all over the place. And they came back to the CEO and said, look, if you want to sell your clients some sort of blockchain enabled system, we can design it for you, but we got to tell you, it's not going to do anything for your clients that they can't do through normal systems. So it's sort of a waste. But if they want it, we could give you something that you can sell. Right. It's not worth anything.
I want to move on. I want to move on to something that I thought was a glaring thing you put in the spotlight in a column. Your column's "The Child Tax Credit is our greatest anti-poverty program. Why is Congress letting it wither?" Remind us what the Child Tax Credit is, and then explain the situation, please.
Oh, sure. The Child Tax Credit is it's a financial assistance program that's actually been around since the 1990s. Generally, it provided $2,000 to families with children, $2,000 a year. And that was, money that they could basically get back as a tax refund to the extent that they had taxes to pay. During the pandemic, the Biden administration enhanced it. They passed a law that said, we're going to raise it to $3,000 per family and $3,600 if you've got a child under the age of 6. and we're going to pay it out to you every month for the last 6 months of 2021, and then we'll give you the rest of it as a lump sum when you file your taxes. They also made it fully refundable, which means that families would get that even if they didn't owe any taxes. So this turned out to be just a great anti-poverty program, and we saw that families with children.
Somebody's really trying to get a hold of Michael Hiltzik. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to wait. Child poverty just plummeted when that program, that enhancement, was in place by many percentage points. 3.7 million children in the United States were kept out of poverty or brought out of poverty in a 6-month period. It's an incredible result, and it's documented. I mean, there's no question about it. Well, the enhancements expired at the end of 2021, and there's been pressure from the administration to put them back and make them permanent ever since. And Congress just will not pass this. For the longest time, it was Joe Manchin, the senator from West Virginia, who said, well, it's inflationary, it causes inflation, and the enhancements took away the incentives for people to work. Well, none of that really held any water. I mean, this is not enough money going out to lower income families that had any impact on inflation. We know that work requirements in these programs don't work. They don't get jobs. They basically punish working people who sort of can't, meet the applications. We saw a lot of work requirements that were attached to Medicaid in Republican states. They have just people on Medicaid and not doing anything employment. So basically that's where we are. We're back to $2,000 a year. We've got work requirements. More money goes to families that have higher earnings than go to families that have lower earnings. It makes no sense whatsoever.
And you're saying it became a political hot potato? That's the reason that they couldn't essentially create a system by which the increased child tax credit under the Biden administration that was started during COVID, et cetera, that they couldn't do that because it became a political problem.
Well, because Republicans were all against it. And then you had Manchin, when he actually had power, which he's going to lose, come January when the Senate goes to 51-49 Democrats. No one's going to care what Joe Manchin thinks anymore because he's not going to be able to block anything. But This is their last chance during this lame duck session.
Exactly.
The House is still in the hands of Democrats. And
there's not going to be anything to block once the House is taken over by the GOP. I mean, sadly, that's just the case.
Right. This is the last chance to get this made permanent.
But it's not.
Congress has to take it up, and it doesn't look like they're.
No. They're not taking up a lot of things that I'd like to see them take up in this lame duck session. So I want to get to Musk. I want to get to the Twitter situation. I have much to talk with you about. Can you visit us next week? Go return that call right now.
Yeah, sure.
And then, that'd be great.
I'm sure it was a telemarketer. So.
Yeah.
But
somebody want to sell you some crypto, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Hiltzik,
I'm sure there'll be more to talk about Musk. So.
Oh, that's for damn sure. So, you can read Michael Hiltzik in the LA Times. Find him online, just Hiltzik. And you can find him, of course, on Twitter for the moment, at Hiltzik M. At Hiltzik M. You see it there on the screen. And I want to see that Pulitzer next time, damn it. I want to know the location. I want to see it. All right. Show and tell with the Pulitzer next time. All right. Michael Hiltzik, everybody. Thanks, Michael Hiltzik.
Great being with you.
Woo.
Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Oh, Hiltzik, he's got such clean takes on things,
He's a cool guy.
While that conversation is going on, we were getting all kinds of activity, which I shall review with you in a moment. Kathleen Chan, are you kidding me? $40. Come on, Kathleen. Big Dan Ashley shout out. Dan Ashley shout out, please. Do we have that?
Big shout out.
There you go. Thank you. Big shout out. I'll give you another one.
Big shout out.
The first one was sort of like a little abbreviated. Kathleen Chan, that's so cool. Thank you, Kathleen, very much. I know because we're demonetized, you have to right now, because of this YouTube problem, you got to go to themarkthompsonshow.com, then you click on PayPal, boom. Give them a credit card, you're in. Karen A. Queely, $24. Thank you. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Karen. You did it too. The extra clicks. I know it's a pain. You got to put your credit card in, but really appreciate the support. It means so much. And thank you, Karen A. I wonder what the A stands for.
Awesome.
Awesome. You got it. Come on.
Amazing.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
There's never been anything like this.
There's never been anything like this.
So Joe Box ran into some trouble, but
yeah, we were thinking that Joe Box was just stiffing us because he was the winner of the banner auction, and he bid $250, and Kevin was right behind him, so we always get a backup bid in case something happens with the primary bid. So Joe Box says, I didn't have a PayPal account, and Venmo doesn't immediately qualify you despite being owned by the same company. That is why I've not been in the chat. Oh, he's trying to do it. He's trying to get us the money.
Joe Box doesn't have traditional bank accounts, is what he's saying.
I say, yeah, that's
kind
that
of
may
off
be.
the grid.
No, I mean, I respect that.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Maybe Little Anthony could step up with it. Although I think Joe Box is the brains of the operation. So what I've noticed, I was trying to just kind of keep track, is that Kevin, in a super cool move, sort of has said, Joe, go ahead. If you really want to go forward with it, then do it, and then I'll be here to back it up. Take the time, get it all organized. And then he sent an email. Did you get that? Look at that, John?
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so have you helped Joe Box now, or what is your assessment, John, of the situation?
Let's bore everybody with the details.
Joe Box had to launder the money
my
first.
suggestion is you don't actually have to have a PayPal account to contribute, so you can log out of your PayPal account and just contribute with a credit card or debit card.
Oh. Yeah, so just go to the themarkthompsonshow.com, the link. There's a PayPal thing. You click on the link and you put in your credit card and it's done.
And if you're having trouble with your PayPal account, just log out of it and approach that link with as you're logged out.
So what is your determination as to what will happen? You're going to give him to the end of the show to do it and it's going to be handled in the off hours, or how will it happen, John?
I mean, he's making a good faith effort.
It does seem like he is trying.
Maybe you can send an enforcer tomorrow.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
I know who the enforcer is. Well,
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
That's right. Damn straight. Fat Andy. Fat Andy, not big on conversation.
Mo Black's
Fat
brother,
Andy. He likes
Fat
to just,
Andy.
yeah. Oh, but wait a minute. I had to log out of my paper.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
Well, we love Joe Box. He's a regular contributor, a regular member of the chat and of the Mark Thompson Show family, the community. So we want to give him a break. And Kevin, in that spirit, seems cool with letting him try to come up with the money, But we so appreciate all of you who've... Joe can mail you a post-dated check with an offshore account. What was to have been a straightforward auction has taken on all kinds of complications.
Come on, Kevin, I just need a day. Just give me a day.
Mark, what is it? It's always about the money. You need it right now. I mean, come on. Joe Box says it looks like it worked.
Hey.
Joe Box, we doubted you.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Turns out you came through.
We impugned your character, and yet
you ran me down to the audience, Mark. Why would you do that? Well, I am delighted, Joe. We love you, and we want you to have this beautiful item. As I say, it's been sending Dogecoin, says Heather. Yeah. Very, very cool.
Brave.
Yes. Very, very cool. Now, I know you're saying, well, will there be other things you'll auction off? Probably not for a while.
But maybe.
But you can get the beanies. And do we have, who do we have a beanie picture from?
Oh,
do we have a beanie?
Yeah.
Do we have a beanie picture from somebody, John?
We do.
Who was it from, though?
Ricky O'Bear.
Oh, cute.
Oh, Ricky O'Bear.
Ricky O'Bear.
Ricky O'Bear, look at you. You handsome devil. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really do look good, bud. Nice. Rocking the beanie.
It really captures the texture of the beanie, too, because when you look at it on shelf, it just looks like a plain black knit. But when you look at Ricky O'Bear's picture, it's got kind of a waffle knit going on. It's cute.
That's true. It's
and
the
we're back to
waffle knit.
QVC here.
Yeah.
Folks, we only have 100 left.
Yes, limited edition. You'll recall, though, it's very popular now. I'm bringing back one for my dad and my mom. I think my dad we'll see. I'll bring them both back to mom and dad. I'm going back to see them next week.
Your mom wants one of each.
That's my mom. Really, she's got quite the wish list going.
Yeah.
But
well, you do want that plate of hers.
Yeah, it's sort of a trade. The plate that Kim really wants it. I don't really want it, but Kim wants it.
You put my name on the Post-it note, stick it on the back.
Ricky Bear is a huge fan of the show, and I love that he sent that picture, so thank you. And you're a handsome dude. That is the KGO and Exile t-shirt, which is the top seller at the Mark merch site, as we told you. And what just arrived to me today was this, was the touch tool. That's Kim's favorite thing. You can't the reflection really just blows it out, but it's got the website on there. Yeah. So you got it. And
MarkThompsonShow.com.
You can use it to move the mic. I could use it to open door. Anyway, that's at themarkThompsonShow.com is where you make donations, but getmarkmerch.com is where you can find all the merch. So I like this. This thing is
I kind of want that. Yeah.
It's a bottle opener for different bottles, and it also has the so.
I think that's cool. Keep it on your fridge. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's available to you also. We wrap up around here. I do have a couple of last minute texts. Thank you for the "Why are you yelling" drop. I used it yesterday on a woman yelling at me who ran into my car while I was taking my husband to surgery. Wow.
Oh, no.
She was yelling that it wasn't her. Oh, man. Araceli.
Said, why are you yelling?
Yeah, why are you yelling?
Why are you yelling?
Araceli with the ding dong, which is a reference to the to the Conway show in Los Angeles. Tim will be on before the end of the year too, I hope. So, I've talked to John about the QR code. We may try to get a QR code going also. Are you doing the show from your parents' home? This is a good question, and let me just quickly spend a second on it. The answer is Kim is going to host the show.
What?
Yes, but I will check in, and I'll leave some recorded segments, also some conversations with authors and that sort of thing.
Do you think I can be trusted?
Oh my God! I think you're very much can be trusted. I think you might be able to upgrade actually if I can suggest. I think I don't know. It's true. I mean, I think it's possible that people will like you more. What will I do? The Nikki Maduro show is starting right now. Musk turning Twitter into a nasty dorm room. God takes on NIMBYism, People's Choice Award, and nipples. Wow, well, it's definitely a different kind of show. Sounds good. We've learned a lot about each other today, don't you think, John? Kim? Yeah. We've learned about PayPal. We've learned how important PayPal is going to be to making contributions on the show, and apparently to the banner. Congratulations again to Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
They did
PayPal
well.
never lets you down.
Never lets you down. Yeah. But I will check in next week. We've got a big show tomorrow. It is huge.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
So come join us tomorrow, everybody.
Bye-bye.
For now, sadly, thanks for being here. We're out of time. Bye-bye.